Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to our Wednesday video here in World of Warships. And as today, update 12.6 starts off, I wanted to just take a video, and talking about asymmetric battles. So that is the battle type that we are in. So I've cut out the first 2 minutes because it's just unnecessary. But you can see it's 5 versus 12. And if you're wondering what asymmetric battles is, you haven't been playing World of Warships or anything like that as of late, then let me just briefly highlight what asymmetric battles is. And then I'm going to be talking about what I think has been good, some changes I would like to see personally in asymmetric battles, so on and so forth. So, asymmetric battles. So basically what Wargaming has done is that they have allowed tier 9 and tier 10 ships to play against a larger bot naval force in the forms of tier 7s and 8s. So like here you have the Rook, tier 7 British battleship, battle cruiser. And so it's meant to be more of a challenge. So you can kind of think of it, I like to phrase asymmetric battles as a kind of step between co-op and random battles in terms of difficulty, because you only have 5 human players, or I believe what co-op's normally 9 versus 9. Randoms typically it's 12 versus 12, but sometimes matchmaker doesn't always fit out a full 12-player match. And then you have asymmetric, which is this 5 versus 12, now a 4 versus 10. And so basically what Wargaming has done is that they've programmed the AI, the bots, to behave differently. I'll talk a little bit more about that. So basically the goal of the bots is to live longer than what they do in co-op. So it's not just like, co-op is often over within 5 to 6 minutes, where asymmetric can go much longer, like this battle is going to, as you'll see. So let me talk about some things. It's going to be a little mix, some things I would like to see Wargaming do. Things I think the mode has been really good for, and just my review of asymmetric battles as a whole. I think kind of the first thing, and I've noticed, I think I've seen a little bit of this in the community, though I can't say how much, as now it's 2 versus 10, these are bots, is allowing divisions in asymmetric battles. And I was kind of really befuddled, confused, as to why Wargaming would not allow divisions in this mode. Now I know they revamped it, they reworked it. They want to see how it looks like in this type of game mode scenario. And I think divisions should be totally allowed, even if you're like, yeah, a 3-man division is too much. Like even just a 2-man division. Right, because when you're playing World of Warships, not everyone wants to play alone by themselves. They want to play with their clanmates, they want to play with their friends, and now you've created another battle type mode where you cannot do that, where you'd have to do it in co-op, randoms, operations, or brawls, since you can't division and ranked either. So I think that's kind of a big miss, in my opinion, that I would like to see if Wargaming is going to bring asymmetric battles back. If it's gonna, I'll talk more about my other thoughts on that. I'm trying to stay on target here. So at least allow 2. So there was a World of Warships, I think it was the EU, maybe it was NA stream, and I asked in the comments, hey, are you guys talking about allowing divisions in asymmetric battles? And they said that they had talked about it in the studio. Now, granted, this is a Twitch stream, take what I say with a grain of salt, but they have at least been talking about allowing divisions in asymmetric battles. So I, for one, would very much like to see divisions in asymmetric battles, and I can understand if they wouldn't allow a 3-man division, but just a 2-man division, if that doesn't hurt their game engine in some way, putting limitations on. I don't think it would. But at least allow 2-man divisions, right? Because now in a situation where it's 2 versus 10, yeah. So there's more things I'll say with that, but later on. Secondly is the rewards. I do think the rewards are balanced. Granted, I will talk about. I'll just talk about it now. The battleships. So Wargaming essentially nerfed the earnings that battleships make because in this game mode, battleships are not focused unless they're the only other ship visible, right? They don't see the destroyers, they don't see cruisers. So a lot of times battleships, you could get to end of a asymmetric battle and battleship players pretty much mostly have all their health, and they've not lost hardly any health, and they're gaining a lot of benefits since the cruisers or destroyers are kind of being the punching bags and taking a lot of damage, potential damage. So they did nerf the battleship rewards, I think by roughly 15%, give or take. We don't know the exact formula that Wargaming's using now, but they did nerf it slightly. And we could talk more again about that. But I think in general the rewards are balanced. It's this in between of, again, co-op and randoms. You know, I don't think it should be rewarded as highly like randoms, even if you perform really well. And I mean, and if you do perform really well, like you'll see at the end of this battle, we do decently well with our credits earnings. If you, yeah, that's the third thing I would talk about. So let's wait just a moment. So yeah, I think in total it's fine from what I've seen. Just maybe kind of dissing the battleships is, I understand it, but at the same time I'm like, ah, darn. Thirdly is, what I was about to say is grinding ships. So if you're grinding tier 9 ships, it's been a really great place to do that in asymmetric battles. Like I've had, I was grinding Lepanto, which isn't a great, I mean it's okay tier 9 battleship, but it's nothing to write home about. So I was grinding it here in asymmetric battles. It wasn't necessarily exciting, but even though, you know, regularly I could get 200k, give or take, with Lepanto, with the blue XP earnings, would actually do quite well in terms of, you know, we could get 16, 17, 18, 20k experience. So that made grinding the ship more enjoyable, because I mean I played Lepanto on randoms, it's okay, but it's not my first tier 9 battleship I would be jumping over to take. The thing with this is actually really nice, because I am thinking about the part of the audience, the part of my audience, but also those in the player base who only play co-op in operations, right? There is a percentage of players who do this, and they don't like dealing with ranked, they don't like dealing with randoms, often citing the toxicity that you might find in randoms and stuff. So this has been a really great place for co-op mains or operation mains to grind ships more quickly than in co-op. Granted, in what I want to say, in co-op, right, you can take any ship tier. In operations, you can take tier 6 to tier 8. There's been maybe some discussion at some point where gaming might introduce a higher tier. I would really like to see that. And then here in asymmetric, tier 9 through tier 10. So it really helps the co-op mains, operation mains who want to finish grinding out that tier 9 ship, since that's the very large grind you have to do from tier 9 to tier 10. Has been very positive in that way. So I see that as a definite win for that portion of the player base who only likes playing really co-ops in operations or other PvE content here in World of Warships. Now, in terms of the 5 versus 12, this would be my fourth point. I've been stating the points as we go along. The number 4, 5 versus 12, I think it's fine. I think if you would have more like 6 versus 12, I believe you'd probably have more blowouts more quickly. So I think not having 6 is good, because I think 6, 7 was a bit much. Having less like 4, I would argue, is too little, since I've had to carry multiple asymmetric battles, like this video you're seeing here, with this wonderful guy in a Conqueror, Tanky Jim. I think that's what I'm going to just call him. I hope it's pronounced that way. He messaged me after this game, and we had a nice little chat, as we both really had to work the flanks here. And once you have control of the flanks in asymmetric battles, you basically have the game. And basically that's what I've been doing in Des Moines this whole game, is isolating, trying these one-on-one engagements, which is what do you want to do in general in Warships, and especially with this bot behavior. So yeah, so that's number 4. So I think the 5 versus 12 is fine if they're going to keep it at this tier of 9, 10 versus 7, 8. Number 5 in terms of the bot behavior. Well, as I've said previously, as I eat this torpedo, I will say it's a step up from co-op for sure. But once you've played it enough, the bot behavior becomes rather straightforward. Essentially, Wargaming has programmed the bots to live as long as possible. For example, if you approach enemy battleships, cruisers, destroyers, at 8 kilometers, they begin to turn out. So typically at 7 kilometers, it depends on how fast you're approaching and how fast they've been approaching you. You typically always get broadsided at roughly 7 kilometers away. So then that's something like Des Moines is really fun because of the 2 and 3 millimeter AP, right? So I was playing this on the EU server and just grinding some things there from my account. So they turn out at 7 kilometers away. So they turn out because they want to disengage. If they keep pushing, you know, it's like co-op, and the bots just typically die much sooner. So in having the bots disengage and turn out in a way, they tend to live longer. You know, a kiting ship is harder to deal with. So here, you know, the North Carolina, you know, the bot has only seen us now. But you know, and then there's the, was it Amagi in the background? Yeah, at 6.6 kilometers away, you know, showing us broadside because they want to get away from me at this point because it's too close. So for them, they need to live, they need to disengage. So that bot behavior is pretty straightforward. Another big thing has been noted, even by other World Warships content creators, is that the bots, the AI focuses on DDs and cruisers first. So I can be here, right, and see how I have 3 ships targeting me. Bismarck is firing at us, and the Conqueror is much closer, right? So they focus destroyers first. So that's something that's kind of been fun, at least a challenge. Playing destroyers, and particularly, I would say specifically cruisers, is probably the most difficult in asymmetric battles because they just focus you first. So you have to be very mindful of your map awareness and not showing broadside, you know, towards B or A. You know, why didn't it just keep pushing up around the corner and I'm showing a flat broadside to Bismarck, right? I'm having to also angle to Bismarck because he's taking pot shots at me from Bravo. So technically you're better off playing the battleships, but as I noted earlier, they nerfed the economic rewards roughly 15%, give or take. I think take maybe a little more. But overall, I mostly have played cruisers in asymmetric battles, and I've really enjoyed the challenge because it helps you as a player to focus on map awareness, because otherwise you die if you're playing cruiser and you don't have map awareness. Number 6, the strongest ships in asymmetric battles are your brawling ships. This is probably the highlight because having a game mode where you can brawl is so much nicer. It's a bit more dynamic than in co-op, which is not so exciting to brawl in because the bots just charge you basically, and then they die. Where the bots in asymmetric and how Wargaming has developed the AIs, they put up a bit more of a fight, right? We're talking about that, turning away, kiting. They might heal up, come back and engage, so then you're getting more big damage games. So when I've taken something out like Schlieffen, because it's such a very fantastic brawling ship, I repeatedly had 350 to 400k games easily with Schlieffen. So Schlieffen, you just basically, you press W, go right in, you know, you have your your 16 torpedoes, you've got best secondaries pretty much in the game at tier 10. You've got your fast damage control teams, along with your 8 main battery guns. So it sort of reminded me a little bit of brawling before update 10.0, where in 10.0 that was the community rework, and they really killed brawling in the game with 10.0, and then they sort of tried to bring it back because of how they, like, you know, you had Deadeye, so people would be sitting in the back with Deadeye. They nerfed secondaries a lot, and it was just really stupid. So then, you know, even your brawling battleships, you're better playing GK Sniper than GK Push. You know, that was stupid. But then, of course, now you have submarines, you have more hybrid ships in the game. So brawling isn't as fun as it was before 10.0. That was the best time to brawl in Water Warships, was before update 10.0. Number 7 is I'm definitely in favor of Wargaming bringing this battle type back. Even if, for example, I'm just saying this, even if it wasn't a permanent battle type, I would be in favor of at least maybe, you know, every second, maybe every third update or something, just to have something different. If Wargaming is concerned about not having enough players for all game modes, granted, Asymmetric Battles you can only play in basically, I'm in EU. I'm in if I'm playing on an NA server, I can't play till after 6 p.m. my time. Living in Norway, playing on NA. So basically, I think it's just 12 p.m. Eastern time is when they open it up. So they try to help it by then, but you know, Brawl and Ranked is also the same. And of course, they're the ones that have the data so they can look at it, but if player population is enough, then it being a permanent battle type in the game, I think it would really be great, especially for the co-op and operation mains of Water Warships, which, you know, sometimes they get unnecessary hate on in the community, but I would argue that there's more than what you think here in the game, because I've done some videos on co-op in the past and I got so much flack and hate for just doing some videos on co-op, but there was also those voices who really appreciated the videos that I focused in on co-op, right? Because there's just some players just, they don't like playing randoms, it's toxic. People whine, complain in chat. You could be winning a battle in randoms and you'll have teammates crying in chat because you're winning the game and you didn't do what they wanted you to exactly do. So it's just really annoying. So I understand why there is a portion of the player base in Water Warships that prefer only playing operations co-op in asymmetric battles. So it'd be cool if Wargaming brought it back. So all said and done, in this battle, hats off to Tanky Jim, if I remember his name correctly. It was really fun playing and chatting with you after this game. And let me know your thoughts on Asymmetric Battles below. Did you really like it? Did you play it? If you think there should be any changes, what changes do you think what would you like to see? And if so, you know, just drop them down in the comments below. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If subscribed, I really appreciate it. We'll be doing a community stream really soon. I'll division up with you. We'll be playing operations. We'll have at least 4 hours set aside on NA server and another 4 hours set aside for EU server. So once we've hit 1,490 subscribers, I'll do some community polls and figure out the dates and times that works best for each server gaming viewer base here on the channel. So I really appreciate it. It's really cool to get close to that 1,500 subscribers, right? So I do appreciate you guys' support, likes, comments, interactions here on the channel. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and then until next time, take care.